Keir Starmer faces massive backlash as Trump demands total control of Greenland. Keir Starmer is currently locked in a high-stakes diplomatic battle that could reshape Britain's relationship with the United States forever. As Donald Trump escalates his demands for control over Greenland, the Prime Minister is facing intense pressure to choose between defending European sovereignty and protecting the UK economy from crippling trade tariffs. In this update, we break down the latest moves from Downing Street, including Starmer's hardened rhetoric against the White House and the growing internal rebellion within the Labour Party. With the Stop Andy Burnham campaign heating up and a controversial visit to China on the horizon, the Prime Minister's leadership is being tested like never before in this critical start to 2026. A cinematic, high-contrast shot of Keir Starmer looking intensely focused at a podium with a dark, moody 10 Downing Street background. On the other side of the frame, a dramatic, fiery overlay of Donald Trump and a map of the Arctic. Text in bold, metallic, breaking news font, with sparks and a sense of global crisis. The Prime Minister is tonight facing the most significant foreign policy crisis of his premiership as the standoff with the United States over the status of Greenland reaches a breaking point. Keir Starmer has taken a definitive stand against Donald Trump, labeling the threat of a 10% trade tariff on British goods as completely wrong and a betrayal of the NATO alliance. This diplomatic explosion comes after the White House demanded total access and strategic control over the Arctic island, a move Starmer has rejected on the grounds of international law and Danish sovereignty. In a series of emergency calls with European leaders and the NATO Secretary-General, the Prime Minister has insisted that the security of the High North is a collective responsibility that cannot be bartered for trade favors. However, the stakes for the British economy are massive, with vital sectors like automotive manufacturing, steel, and life sciences now sitting directly in the crosshairs of a potential transatlantic trade war. Internal friction is also reaching a boiling point within the Labour Party, as allies of the Prime Minister launch an aggressive campaign to block a political comeback by Andy Burnham. The mayor of Greater Manchester is widely seen as the primary threat to Starmer's leadership, and high-level sources suggest the party machinery is being moved to prevent him from standing in an upcoming by-election. This internal power struggle is unfolding against a backdrop of dipping approval ratings and a despondent backbench that is increasingly skeptical of the government's ability to deliver on its promises for 2026. While Starmer has urged his cabinet to focus on the cost of living and the NHS, the distraction of a high-profile leadership challenge is the last thing Downing Street wants as it attempts to project a narrative of national renewal and stability. Simultaneously, the government is being accused of a massive security gamble following the approval of a new Chinese mega-embassy in London. Despite warnings regarding foreign influence and espionage, the Prime Minister has defended the move, citing the advice of intelligence services who claim that consolidating Chinese diplomatic operations onto a single site is actually a security benefit. This decision has cleared the path for Starmer to lead a high-powered delegation of British business giants to Beijing next week, a move intended to bolster trade but one that has drawn fierce criticism from the opposition and human rights advocates alike. Critics argue that cozying up to China while simultaneously fighting a trade war with the United States leaves the United Kingdom in a dangerously isolated position on the world stage. On the domestic front, the Prime Minister is under fire for refusing to back an immediate ban on social media for under-16s, despite a decisive defeat in the House of Lords. While peers and a growing number of his own MPs are demanding Australian-style restrictions to protect children from digital harm, Starmer has opted for a slower, consultation-led approach. This perceived lack of urgency has allowed political rivals to frame the Prime Minister as a leader who is doing nothing slowly, while a generation of young people faces what experts call a societal catastrophe. As local elections loom in May, the pressure is mounting on Starmer to prove that his government can make the hard choices necessary to keep the public safe and the economy afloat during this period of unprecedented global upheaval.